Welcome into Beyond Sunday. I'm your host, Luke, and I'm joined by our guest today is Joel Santana.
Yes, sir.
Joel, how are you doing, man? I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, man, thank you for having me. I'm doing great. Great. Yes, sir.
Well, Joel has been around the Springs for longer than he's been on staff. So I'll let you kind of give a brief background on how long you've been at the Springs and then when you came on staff here.
Absolutely. So Christmas 2021, we came for the first time. It was crazy, man. I believe in invite cards because that's how we got here. A second grader invited my oldest daughter for a whole semester.
Wow.
Like every Monday, she will come to school with an invite card and ask Valentina, hey, can you come to my church? Can you come to my church? Every Monday. So by the end of a year, we were attending to a different church back then. And it was just like, okay, Valentina, we'll do it just for once, you know?
Right.
And we came and we loved it.
Wow.
It was the first time it was all.
Where was the point where you were like, okay, I could see us attending the Springs and making this our church home? Like when did that moment come?
Oh man, it's both ways. Because I'm a big fan of worship. Like worship is everything to me. So obviously when they started worship, it was like, yes, this is it. But also when we finished in the auditorium and went to the kids section to pick up my daughters, they were begging, can we please call this church our home church? Please. So I think I grew up at church. And something I always prayed is I want my children to want to go to church and not being dragged to church. So that was for sure, that was a disclosure. This is it. This is the place. We loved it. Something I told them was, hey, in Christmas, all churches are the best. Let's just keep coming and see if you like it or not. But 3 weeks after, we were at Connect, and it was it.
I mean, it goes to show, as a parent, you and I both being parents, understand that the way to our hearts is our children.
Yep.
And it's like, if that's what we're experiencing, if like our kids are getting invited to church, our kids are getting encouraged, are being poured into, all of those things, like there's not a more immediate source to us than our children. And so I think that's awesome that you as a parent were like, okay, because a lot of parents might hear that their second graders getting invited and be like, no, it's fine. Like they're just being kids. She's inviting her friend to her church and whatever. Yeah. It'd be so easy to dismiss it. So it says a lot about you and your wife, Kylene, that you guys would even entertain that being a scenario where it's like, okay, yeah, because a second grader invited our second grader, we're going to go to church and try it out and just check it out. And then even more so that like kind of the solidifying, the final point for you guys that made you guys realize that the Springs is somewhere you wanted to be was when your kids were talking about how much they loved it.
Absolutely.
So that is awesome to hear. And I think also a great testimony to our kids ministry as well. And now what Ned is doing with that team, like they are so good at what they do over there, and all of the kids just love it. So if you are listening to this and you have children and maybe they don't go into Springs Kids right now, just give it a shot because you will enjoy your time in the service with your spouse or by yourself or with a friend. Yeah. And they will enjoy their time in a place that is made for them.
And that's another thing. When we came from Puerto Rico, if you don't know, we came from Puerto Rico in 2015, and we visited many churches. And my wife and I, we're helicopter parents. So it was very important for us to feel like peace. Yeah. Leaving our kids in a kids program without being with them. And man, it was like every single step when we came for the first time was amazing. Like from the parking lot all the way to the kids ministry. And we were enjoying the service because we knew they were safe. And now they're serving the kids. I love that too. Yeah. Awesome. I love that they're growing in worship. They love worship as well. And they're serving the kids. So I couldn't ask for something better than that.
So I want to talk about your favorite memory so far at the Springs. You've been here. We can do either or, right? We can talk about your time before you were on staff, whatever, if that memory happens, then what is your favorite memory so far since being at the Springs?
Man, that's tough. It will probably be the first time I led worship, but can I have more than one?
You can have more than one. Yeah, absolutely. We got all the time in the world. Yeah.
Okay. So because for many people will be just like leading worship. For me it was finding purpose. Here it was crazy how the invitation happened and how God orchestrated everything for me to be part of a worship team, because I was planning to just hide and just not do anything, but maybe serve as a greeter or something like that. And one of the pastors and staff was sitting by me in one of the worship sessions, and like I'm a loud singer, no matter where, no matter when.
Yeah.
I'm giving it all, man. I'm like eyes closed and hands up. And I remember after that song, when you can feel someone's like watching you,
right? And
I looked to the side, and he's like right there. Bro, you can sing. So he set me up. Like he told Pastor Jimmy, hey, this guy can sing. We need to get him an audition. And within 3 weeks, I was already singing. It was the first time I led in English.
That's crazy.
So people who knows me, like they know like it was never possible. Like it was not a thing. And I remember being so nervous. It was like, man, I don't know if I can do this. And it's a mega church. It's like a lot.
Yeah.
And Jimmy was so graceful. He said, Joel, you are ready to do this, man. And we got you.
Was the fact that you hadn't led in English before, you guys went to a church prior to this. Was it an English-speaking church?
No, it was a Latino church.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you lead there?
Yes.
Okay.
Always in Spanish. In Spanish, it was like, it's my wheelhouse.
Right.
English was just, I don't know, It was a challenge. I've never done it before.
And how far into your time at the Springs was it before you had that encounter where like someone advocated for you to be on stage?
So we came for the first time in December 2021.
Yeah.
I think by March 2022, I was already
was there any part of you that was going to approach Jimmy or anybody on staff about worship at all?
I don't know. It wasn't the immediate plan. My actual words for Kylene were like, okay, so nobody know me here. Let's just sit and breathe and just get ourselves fed with the word of God.
Right.
Only,
Yeah.
But Kylene was super into like, I want to do something. I want to plug myself in. I want to serve. And I said, okay, so after Connect, we actually served as greeters. I served for one Sunday. And after that Sunday, serving as a greeter, it happens that God opened the door for me to be part of a worship team. And that first Sunday means a lot to us as a family because God moved us for a reason. And he moved me out of my comfort zone to rely on him, to trust him.
Yeah.
And that was it. Like that was a leap of faith. It's, okay, you're ready. I prepared you for this moment. You just need to believe that it's not about you. It's about me and what can I do. And that was it, man. It was amazing. So it was probably one of my favorite memories, but also my daughter, the one that brought us here, got baptized here too.
Yeah.
And man, I will always get emotional about baptisms, but it's special.
Of course.
She was in second grade and she was like, I'm ready. I know what I want to do. And I want to go public in my faith. And for me, I think there's not an age for that, but you need to see maturity in that decision.
Yes.
And she was so into it and she was so sure and secure that this is my next step. And obviously it was, another memory I got.
That is interesting too, like for kids who accept Christ as a child.
Yeah. Yeah.
I accepted Christ when I was in, I believe it was like third grade. I was 8, but third or fourth grade, I don't remember, but I was 8. And I remember that the feeling of, I think that a child is ready when they feel the weight of that decision. My dad and I sat down in the living room and because I went to them about it and said, I think I want to accept Christ. So me and my dad and I sit down. And I remember getting up. I was like, I can't do this. I was 8. I had never had like any type of anxiousness or just I'd never experienced that where it's like hesitation.
Yeah.
I was 8. I've never hesitated about anything, and I was like, I can't do it. I don't right now. I don't know. I can't. And so I got up and so then we tried again a few days later, and I like by the moment I was just like awestruck by it. I think and I was like, I can't. And then so eventually, by like the third time, I sat down. I was like, okay, I'm ready. And it says a lot about children when they can recognize how big that moment is. Yeah. And so for her to say in second grade, I'm ready. And it's all because they saw how you and Kylene lived out your lives and coming to church and everything that you guys did in leading her to that moment led to that, right? And so to the point where she was like, I see that, I see what they have and I want it. And so, man, just awesome. Like you said, like getting emotional about commitments to Christ and baptisms and like that stuff will never get old because like those are always like those are stories, each and every person. And we just got to experience that this past weekend at Ocala. So at Ocala and Lady Lake as well that did baptisms and like, man, so much life change and just an exciting weekend. Now, Joel, aside from your family, because that's the easy answer, aside from your family, what is your why? Like what is it for you that you're on your way to work and you're like, man, I'm pumped because of X, Y, and Z, because I get to do this?
Yeah. Man, I think many of us will have the same answer, but it's just the one. Is that one that hasn't encountered God yet. And it's not over. I was raised at church, but I encountered Jesus when I was 16. So I have a special love for students ministry because he wasn't at church when I encountered him. And it's crazy. My dad is a pastor as well. And somehow I just got myself accustomed to religion. And I knew how to do right things and how to behave myself and dress well. And I knew what to say. But I remember being in high school. It was something very similar to probably FCA right now. Kind of this organization that goes and lead students in worship, and then they just share something from like a devotional. And I remember feeling like this is not what I know as a church, but I saw many other people that were vulnerable there. And nobody knows me. Nobody knows me here. And I don't have to pretend. I don't have to act, or I can just come and just ask for prayer if I need to. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be myself. Like I don't have to get myself fixed for this moment. And I was a sophomore when that happened. And like after that, my mission was, okay, let's get one more person. One more person needs to experience what I just experienced. And eventually, like I graduated and at church, that was all we did. It was just seeking for the one. So when the opportunity happened, a lot of years later here, that was the motivation. The first motivation was, okay, I want to transition from education to being part of a staff at church. Right. And everybody was asking me why. Like, 'cause it's a good question. Why?
For anybody not in ministry, especially, they haven't experienced like that calling to ministry before. So like the why is evident all the time. Like people ask that question all the time. Yeah. And you're like, why do you want to do that? What's the money like? Like, why would you go work at a church? Like, what the career wise?
What do you do? What do you do at church?
Yeah, right. What do you do the whole week?
Yes.
But anyway, continue. Sorry. So people were asking you why.
So people were asking me why, and that has always been the answer. We just need to make the heaven crowder. And if we have an opportunity, I have a voice in 2 languages, bro. Like I cannot miss that opportunity to tell someone, Jesus died for you, and wherever you're at right now, you have an opportunity to get to meet him. Yeah. And I know I cannot reach out to the whole country, but if I can reach out one person each week, it's gonna be one more person in heaven that will experience eternity.
There's a lot of cool stories that come from you because you are Puerto Rican and like Spanish is your first language. And you were even talking about it in our all staff meeting, but just the opportunity to kind of bridge the gap for people who might feel, whether they feel marginalized because of their language, that English isn't their first language, they're not super confident. And it's happened time after time that you are connected with people in the lobby here at the Springs because they speak Spanish. It happened with you and I, like, I don't know, a month ago, where there was a couple that was standing in the lobby and I had met them, and they tell me that they're both Puerto Rican, and they hadn't been like here that long. He had been here for a few years and she had been here for like a few months. Yeah. And I could tell that she didn't speak really English much at all. Mm-hmm. And so I found you, which is what I do anytime anyone sounds like they're when they're like, yeah, I'm for Puerto Rico. I'm like, all right, I got a guy. Let me flag him down. And so you were able to bridge the gap at that point and talk. And then eventually you guys just started talking in Spanish. And it's like, that's something that's so cool to have on staff. Yeah. Because that's something that like we haven't had consistently like this, where it's like we can make people feel welcome. Yeah. People come back to church because they realize they have a staff member who speaks the same language as me and can help me. And now you're kind of bonded to that person. And on Sundays, you have a lot of people that come up to you that are Puerto Rican or speak Spanish. And it's because you're able to be that person for them. And so it's been super awesome to see. Now, this past weekend, my dad taught on what our world needs now, and that being peace. Fitting, because as you guys are listening to this today, we have a better idea, if not already someone announced, that is going to be the new president of the United States. And so my dad, what I do love is that there was never any type of agenda pushed. We didn't get deep into politics. It didn't feel like a political message, yet it's what we need most right now.
Absolutely.
And so really quickly, I'll summarize what this message is about, and then you and I will break down one or two things from it. But one of them, kind of the main idea is peace. But how do we get there? And really how we get there is through understanding that peace is a person. It's Jesus. Yeah. And it's not just something that we achieve.
You stole my point.
Well, here we are. But that was one of the things that my dad talked about, but also the way that you attain peace and how you get to know him. So once we establish peace as a person, then what do? It's like, well, you just spend time with that person. Yeah. If you know that someone has the answers to all of your problems, you want to grow in relationship with them naturally. So prayer is huge. And, my dad talked about finding a place to pray and making that your place, and wherever that might be, but just anything that will grow your relationship with Christ, because the more you spend time with him, the more peace that you will have. Yes. So we can talk about peace being a person,
not a feeling.
Not a feeling.
Man, I love that line. It was incredible. And I'm with you on that. I think it's a consistent invitation of the presence of God into your situation. Mm-hmm. That's where we can find peace, because we got to be real. Like you can be a believer or non-believer, and you will always experience crisis. And when you lack of control, you lack of peace. Like it's a natural reaction. Yes. But when you invite the presence of God into your crisis, into your situations, then that brings another kind of like thoughts and mindset. It doesn't change automatically your situation, but it changes your posture into the situation.
Yeah, and as Christians, it's super easy to say, I pray when I eat. Yeah. And I pray at church. And outside of that, we're not really praying. Or I pray with my kids before bed. The prayer, the way that you attain peace and the way you know God is not when you pray with someone because it's something that it's for them, right? When we do it with our children, like every night I'll pray with Cole. Every night Lauren prays with Harper. That's not for us. That's for them to see at an early age, so they can always remember that we have always made God a focal point in our lives.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
But we need to attain peace is to know God, and to have that, we need to have one-on-one conversation. It can't be around a table, multiple people, and that's like the only thing we do, or with our kid just to show them, which serves a purpose, but it doesn't serve the purpose of knowing God. And so, I mean, it's something I'm guilty of as well. There's been many times in my life, many phases of my life, where it's like I get so caught up that I haven't prayed in a couple of days. I haven't thanked him. I haven't told him how I'm feeling. That's all for us.
Yeah.
And so, definitely understanding that peace is a person and incorporating the relationship is huge. And then I wanted to, as we normally do, kind of apply this and make us human and talk about, do we consistently, personally, do we consistently feel like we have peace in our lives? And if so, how have we found that it works best to attain that peace?
Yeah.
I'll start with you. Do you feel like you have peace in your life consistently?
I feel like I have peace in my life consistently. But my love language, and I don't know, maybe for you, it might not be the first one praying. My love language with God it's through music. It's
Right.
like, man, sometimes I spend more time of my quiet time singing songs than I spend actually just reading a devotional.
Right.
And it fulfills me as well. It gives me peace. And before, when I was single back in Puerto Rico, like if I was struggling with something or feeling troubled, I will get in my car and I will play music. And it was like my escape. I didn't even know where to go. It was just, I just need to get isolated in the presence of God. And it was through music. So it's understanding when you're feeling either anxiety, whether it's a crisis, whether it's a chaos, whether it's a decision, whether it's the heaviness of your sins. Like, it's where do you go or how do you act after feeling that? That is what secures peace all the time. Because life will be living. Like that doesn't, accepting Jesus in your life doesn't change your life for a magic life. Right. But accepting Jesus into your life, it's having the presence of the peacemaker into everything. Yeah. So for me, it's not just easy. It's recognizing, when am I feeling anxious? Crazy thing, like, what is the first thing that people recommend another person when they feel anxious? Just breathe, right? And in our lungs, like, they just call one name, Yahweh. You know, you breathe in is Yah. When you breathe out is Way. So even our breathing, recognize the presence of God. This is all you need. Your body will tell you all you need is Yahweh. Yeah. Which is crazy. Yes. But it's recognizing what led me to his presence and inviting him into those moments. And not only inviting Jesus when I feel like it's nice, I'm going to get stage of life. It's inviting Jesus also to the darkest ones. I'm struggling now with, I don't know, with my thoughts, or I'm struggling with my motivation. Will you please come?
Right. Are you naturally a worrier? Like, is that something, are you naturally a worrier, or is that, because the reason I'm asking that is because I'm super laid back. So for me, peace feels easy to attain.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I don't deal with anxiety naturally. Yeah. Are you naturally anxious or a worrier, or are you pretty laid back just naturally?
So I think this is a question for my wife. So Kylene, she's more the person who's more worried about the future. I'm laid back. Sometimes she said, I just wish I could have the faith you have, knowing that things will be fine. And sometimes I tell her, I don't think it's faith. Right. Yeah, that's because I don't know. Point too, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. Like, in my faith, it's like something will be good, or we will learn out of this situation. But it's, instead of that, it's just the peace. I feel peace. Right. Because, bro, when you can't do anything else, you can either sit and frustrate yourself because of that, or you can invite the presence of God and be frustrated with God through it all.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with that, there is definitely a huge part of the reason I have peace is because I'm just laid back. So it's easy for me. Like I was already there. Like I was before God. I was already just naturally. It is what it is. I say that all the time.
It's gonna be fine.
I say that to my mom all the time. My mom will say, "I'm sorry that this happened to you guys." I'm like, "It is what it is." She's like, "It's not. It's not what it is. It's bad that happened. Like I'm sorry. Like don't worry about it. We're fine." But so I think it's easier for me to get there because I'm already there. Mm-hmm. But then when you tell me that a creator has already planned all of this, has already navigated all of this for me and gone before me, then even more so, I'm like, oh, it really is what it is. Like I can't do anything. Like he is going to provide. And I think it's not necessarily like that piece shouldn't be spent on like what will happen that is good or bad in the future. Mm-hmm. It's more of like when that happens, I trust that God is going to make a way, that he is going to teach us, like you said, I'm going to learn something or we're going to celebrate. Yeah. And so
one or the other.
Right. And it's not so much, the worrying about what's going to happen in the future. It's just, do you trust that who holds your future? Do you trust him?
Yeah.
And it is easy. It is more easily attained pieces for people like myself, like yourself.
Yeah, lay back.
Because we got lucky. Like we got blessed with that. But
is that considered a gift?
It might be. It might be. I think in a marriage, like you always hear like opposites attract.
Yeah.
You hear certain things of like a woman who likes to go to bed early always marries a man who stays up late. Like there's everything's opposite. And I think that there really is purpose in that. Like we are able to, as the leaders of our families, we're able to naturally say, God has got it, and we can kind of calm the nerves of everybody in the situation. And I think that each family probably has someone in their family that's that way. Mm-hmm. And those people there's a lot of responsibility with people that just easily attain peace. Yeah. And so I think that
I'm thinking of a song right now.
Joel and I were talking about before. Joel was like, I can't help but have songs in my head. People talk to me and then I just have songs. And something my wife doesn't understand it, that I have the same thing. I'll start singing something 10 minutes later and she's like, why are you singing that? Like it's something you said 20 minutes ago, but I don't even remember what it was. Yeah. But the song's in my head now. But anyway.
I'm trying to lock myself into the conversation, but man, it's in my head. It's like, I trust in God.
So, so I think that that maybe this conversation isn't had enough about people that naturally can attain peace easier and the role and responsibility that you have. Mm-hmm. And if you are, at any point, if you were that person in your family, they depend on you.
Yes. Wow. Yeah.
You have to be that person. Like that's a gift. Like you said, it is a gift.
Yes.
It really is, because we can just get there easier, and not by anything we've done, but because God has orchestrated and put our family together for a reason. Yes. And we're able to be that. So I will say, even though you and I both said like we feel like we have peace, there are still places in our lives where it's harder to have that peace. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, I trust you in this area and this area. Yeah. But I don't know about this.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. For you, is there an area where you're like, I have peace, but like this is where I need it most. Like I'm glad I have it here, or I don't have it in this place and I need it here.
So I'm very laid back, but I love a plan for the future, or just an image. Just show me
a plan. Yeah.
I don't mind transitioning. Just show me what do you want to do,
right?
Or where you want me to, or what do you want me to do,
right?
I think those are areas for me that I still have to work. And this message was tough because it's like, if you have no peace, then you're not trusting God.
Yeah.
Okay. Bro, I was sitting and I was like, okay, right. I think I have peace.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's one of those moments when we just lost control of what is going to happen, and you are in the middle of the desert. You're just walking for 40 years, and it's like, so now what?
Right.
those are the moments that I feel like it's when I lose maybe just peace. And it's just, again, it's an invitation for God to come in. And I've been learning, like, he doesn't have to tell me exactly what's going to happen. I just need to own his presence.
Right.
Which led me to another song. But I think it is, and your Pastor Ron was saying something about what shalom meant, the word shalom,
Yes.
which is very funny because I've heard that word many times and never heard about that specific thing. When people were building a wall, they will use the word shalom to just say it is completed.
Right.
And it was something that resonated to me in transitions, like I just need to know that God has completed it. In God, there is no times like or past or future. It's like for God is done. And even though I'm walking through a time frame and I will see it eventually in the future, I just need to trust that it is completed.
Right.
And that's why he's the peace.
Yeah. There are certain parts of our lives, like you said, where we are so convinced that we have peace. And then something happens.
Yeah.
Or something comes to your attention and you're like, maybe I don't really have it. Maybe I'm just so laid back in these other areas.
Maybe I lost it.
Maybe I lost it. Yeah. Maybe I don't have it. Maybe I need to get back on track with spending time with him and being honest with myself about how much I trust him. Because for me, like I said, being laid back and having peace definitely are confused. And one of the first times I realized, like, maybe I don't have peace as much as I thought was once I got married and all of these bills become ours. And it's like you're orchestrating it. And I understand, like, I am very blessed to have, like, my parents had my phone on their plan when I was in college, right? That's not, I know there's people listening to this and they're like, I didn't have.
You are very blessed.
So, but then you get to the point where you're like, I've got to figure this out. I've got to put all this stuff in my name. Everything is mine. Like, you start having ownership. And then that also means your paychecks that have your name on them go towards the bills that have your name on them.
Yeah.
and it's just this reality that hits you where it's like, oh, I'm a little bit stressed about this. I've never, like, really encountered a ton of stress in my life. And so when that came, it was like, oh, we've got to figure this out.
Yeah.
And if we don't, what are we going to do? And so for me, I think that is the area that I need peace the most. And I have it to an extent, but it's not what it could be. You know what I mean? Like, I trust
Yes.
in the month ahead, in the next month ahead, but years down the road, it's like, well, God, what if it keeps going at this rate? The whatever it might be, right? If we're making bad financial decisions, how do we correct this? What do I do? And so for me, I think it's in finances, just because it is like that independent. Lauren and I are the sole responsibility for this.
Yeah.
But yeah,
for my wife will be finances too, and I'm super laid back from finances.
right?
But like purpose and like professional wise, like what am I leading to? It's something that will always trap me there. And it happened. Like I started in staff as part of a Middleton team,
Right.
and I was doing something I've never done before. So man, Thomas was the best teacher I could have had, but we planned to replicate what happened in Ocala without thinking that it was going to be a totally different campus. So I had peace that I knew God has everything in control. But at the moment, it's like I'm caught up in many thoughts. Am I doing the right thing? Am I talking to the right people? Am I having the right conversations? Because you don't want to mess up planting a church. You don't want to mess up what God is doing and that revival in one specific community. it's something you don't want to mess up, and that's it. It's just God. I don't want to be the one that breaks the church.
Right. Yeah.
So like that gave me like sort of anxiety. Like what is God leading me to? Am I equipped to do this?
Right.
And man, I believe there were many volunteers from Middleton that I miss and loved deeply. But there's this couple that always every Sunday will come to me and say, "Hey, Joel, you're doing a great job." And it's listening. It's for me, it's listening the voice of God telling me, "Hey, I brought you here, and you're not alone. I'm not forsaking you.
Yeah.
I'm not leaving you.
Yeah.
You have a purpose. I just need you to be obedient and trust me." And those little glimpses gave me peace through it all. But like the following week is like, we're doing baptisms now. Like,
yeah,
this is gonna be crazy.
Right. Yeah, and the biggest thing too, one thing that my dad talked about as well was the scripture that he said is the most overlooked.
Oh yeah.
But the most repeated, right? And essentially talking about don't be anxious and just pray.
Mm-hmm.
Pray. Just continue to pray. And so it is true. Like we hear that all the time. And there's so much in the Bible about like casting anxiety and your fears and all of your worries on him, and he will take care of it. But to do that, we have to communicate with him. We have to have that relationship with him. Yeah. And the way that, we get to continue to know God again is just praying. When you have the anxiety, right? It is hard to be anxious and worry when you're praising him for how good he is. Mm-hmm. And how much he's done, and looking back on what he has done. It is impossible to just be grateful and in the same thoughts worry about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm grateful for you, for God, for what you're doing, right? And I trust because you've brought me this far, and it's not going to end. And so that was a point as well that I really loved. But Joel, before we let them go, is there anything else that we want to add before we get out of here?
Man, I think it's given a chance to get to know him. Mm-hmm. And it's an invitation. I know this podcast is probably for believers, but
right.
If you, by any chances, happen to listen to this and you don't have a relationship with him, and you're lacking of peace, like
right.
It's not a feeling, it's a person, and we all need it.
Yeah.
You don't have to be certain mature to accept it. You don't have to be a certain age.
Right.
You don't have to be certain spiritually mature.
Right.
Like Jesus is for all.
Yeah.
And he's perfect peace. And it's as simple as just praying to have him in your life and let him change and transform any kind of darkness and anxiety into his peace. And it sounds almost magical and surreal, but it's so true.
Yeah.
And I want to say also that I have another daughter. I've been talking about Valentina, but if Catalina says this and I don't say her name, I will be in big trouble.
Shout out to Catalina.
Shout out to Catalina. I have a beautiful family, my wife and 2 daughters, Valentina and Catalina. And I thought the reason why we came was because of a better future for them. But God has a purpose and a better future for us as a family. So I'm glad that I'm living through it.
Yeah. And you said, obviously like this podcast is probably mainly going to be believers and the listenership and viewership. But there's a lot of people, because I was once this way, that accepted Christ, did the right things, maybe consumed content about him, but praying for peace and praying to get to know the Prince of Peace is still something that's foreign or something they're working on. So hopefully this episode is at least encouragement that you can get there, that you can attain peace, and to surround yourself with people that are peaceful. Like people that have peace already, and just continue to be that person for you. So again, appreciate you, Joel.
Thank you, man.
Jumping on here, and until next time, you guys have a great week, and be kind. Be kind to people this week. It's a heavy week. Be kind, and we will see you guys next time. See you.